when the grotesqueness of systems abuses is allowed to fester and grow, when accountability and transparency are as rare as hen's teeth, something has to give. This can happen when people step forward to tell the truth. Some who tell are heroes, and others are villains who seek only to cover their skins and avoid punishment. State capture has been the most recent example of this, where those purportedly telling all are also revealing their own sins. In other cases, blowing the whistle has meant the loss of income, a danger to life and to property. But as the old adage goes, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Our institutions need to be cut open and spliced and exposed to the air of truth. Are you thinking of speaking out where you work? Well, then this program is a must-see. I'm Madam Speaker, and on our program we ask, should whistleblowers come forward? And if they do, what really faces them? More importantly, can they be protected? Itumeleng Mongale from the Public Service Commission is joining us. Suzanne Daniels blew the whistle on Eskom. Tobile Madonsela is an expert on this topic and comes from the Ethics Institute. Cherise Thakur is a legal researcher for the Helen Suzman Foundation. And Deborah Mutemwa Tumbo is head of legal and investigation at Corruption Watch. I invite my guests to tear up your speeches, be sharp and to the point. Let's begin by understanding what there is in law for whistleblowers. And Itumeleng, I think I'd like to start with you. Set the legal scene for us, including very briefly the key tenets of the Public Disclosures Act or the Protected Disclosures Act. Are you satisfied that our legal framework is strong and responsive?
Thanks, Iman. The Protected Disclosures Act, it is the key piece of legislation that deals with the issue of whistleblowing. For anyone who has any information about wrongdoing, we can come forward and raise the issue. Now, the question that you're asking, what is it in for the person who is willing to come out and speak out against any wrongdoing? The legislation indicates that any employee or any worker is protected from any occupational detriment if they blow whistle against the wrongdoing. And if you look at Section 8 of the Protected Disclosures Act, there's a number of institutions that are listed there, and they include the Public Service Commission, the institution that I come from. They include the Public Protector, the Auditor General. So there's
a whole legal architecture that makes provision for whistleblowing and also protects their rights.
Yeah.
Let me bring this question then to Suzanne. You were the head of legal and compliance at Eskom. Were you protected by the laws that Itumeleng is talking about?
Sadly, no, Iman. I went to Parliament under the Parliamentary Act for disclosures. I was still harassed at work. The harassment started, in fact, before I was suspended. So, you know, my lawyers advised me that we should go to the CCMA rather than the Protected Disclosures Act. I went to the highest institution in the land, and I was still exposed to death threats, all of those things, with very little protection.
Could you ask for police protection?
Well, the police, I did of my own accord, and they were actually quite helpful. They still are. The South African Police Force sometimes does work.
Suzanne, to someone who's listening at home thinking, there's just so much going wrong here, I need to say something, what would you say to that person?
I think still say it, but just be aware that it's quite a lonely journey. The worst thing is that your friends, or who you thought were your friends, disappear, like, quickly. And, I mean, the worst is for me was that I suffered quite a lot of abuse from my former colleagues and people that I worked with in the legal fraternity.
Just a final point on that. In your disciplinary hearing, which ultimately saw you cut from Eskom, you were accused of being selective with the truth, of being opportunistic. You're fighting back on this one, and this is the last we heard from July. I'm not sure what has developed in the legal space from there. But did you see that as punishment?
Yes, I did, because they actually took what was exactly in my evidence to Parliament and used it against me. And the law does say directly or indirectly that, you know, anything that you've said...
Protected disclosure.
Protected disclosure. Sadly, it wasn't the case in my instance. I am taking the matter forward, but that's my own legal initiative, not under the Protected Disclosures Act.
Itumeleng, doesn't seem as if the law works in reality.
Yeah, That's exactly the point that I want to raise, that if you look at Section 5 of the Protected Disclosures Act, if a whistleblower experiences occupational detriment like Suzanne did, the law provides that then she can approach the court. And I think that's where it is a bit of a problem. You face a disciplinary hearing, you're harassed, you are victimized in many ways. But then the law says if that happens, then you have to approach the court.
But you find a situation where, as Suzanne is saying, you're standing ultimately on your own.
Yeah.
So that doesn't sound to me to be an incentive for someone to come forward, especially if you're standing up against a very powerful organization.
Yeah.
An SOE like Eskom, we've heard a litany of problems, institutional problems at that organization.
Yeah, I think that's one weakness. Because, I mean...
It is the most, stunning weakness, one would say.
It is a massive weakness because the law promotes whistleblowing and it tells you where to go if you want to raise an issue. But if you look at the mechanism that is built to really protect, I don't think it's sufficient to just say that an employee or a worker is protected from occupational detriment. But if you don't build in mechanism in place, I mean, if you look at other countries, there are proper mechanisms
like what?
To prevent and to prohibit victimization or harassment.
Like what?
For example, the same institution where you report, they're given the powers to then receive your complaint regarding occupational detriment, and then you can refer the matter to a tribunal.
It still sounds as if you're standing alone.
No, but
Suzanne, I know at the beginning you said you wouldn't discourage people from coming forward, but do you regret coming forward?
No, I don't.
Be honest. Be honest.
I don't, in the sense that it gave me the sense of freedom. I always wanted to tell the truth. When I pieced together what had happened, me, Suzanne, could not stand there and defend any longer. And I think...
So you did at one point defend?
Yes, I was the head of legal and compliance, so Eskom was who I needed to defend. And, it got to a point where you're sort of thinking, lawyer's logic, the client is guilty, but it deserves a good defense. Personal logic, I can't do this anymore. And it was that tussle between the two that's why I say it's very important. If you look at what's happening at the State Capture Commission now, it is very important that people come forward and say, we need to fix our country.
All right. We'll take a look when we return at what the personal toll was on someone like Suzanne's life. But my jury is going to weigh in. This is Madam Speaker.